was originally posted by a Reddit user called u_r-38. Now their story is called Creepy Occurrences, giving me serial killer vibes. Okay, so I pretty much made this account for the purpose of writing this story out. This has been going on in my neighbourhood for about 2 weeks now, and it has me sufficiently creeped. So I live alone, I'm 28 years old and I'm female. This is also why I am more alarmed than the average person might be. So a couple of weeks ago, I had opened my mailbox to find a small wooden crucifix on a string. I didn't know who it was from. The church occasionally leaves things in mailboxes, sure, but also provides like a pamphlet or something to explain. This was just a small wooden crucifix necklace. I just grabbed it along with the rest of my mail and I put it in the house. Now, while having wine one night, my neighbour, who is also my best friend, mentioned that she had found a crucifix necklace in her mailbox. Now, neither of us thought much of it. Once again, it didn't seem like the biggest deal in the world. Odd, sure, but not that big of a deal. Now, a few days had passed and I started getting mysterious phone calls. Mysterious in the sense that the same number would call and would stay on the line but wouldn't say a thing. In the background I could hear what sounded like a TV or maybe a radio, so I know that the line was okay, but they just didn't say anything. My friend mentioned that she had also received a few anonymous phone calls with the same phenomenon. Now, things got even creepier when another girl we know mentioned finding a crucifix in her mailbox and receiving phone calls, same as us. Now, while my friend and I were driving to go out one night, she got a call from that number. So she answered it and she told them to stop calling us. Once again, there was no response. By the time we got to our destination, we had both received a text message. Now hers read something along the lines of, "Words hurt, learn to love." Now the text message that I got read, "The human heart is the strongest organ in the body. Why do you have to f*** with it?" And it had a photo of a cartoon heart that went along with it. Now we were both scared, but we stayed and hung out like we had planned because neither of us wanted to go home alone, which is understandable. Now we talked about it until our friends got there with us. We kind of played around with the thought that it was maybe just a prank by one of our friends, but we became less sure. So for sure, 2 other girls from our town received crosses in their mailbox and also received phone calls. We know one of them, though we don't know her very well. The other one, neither of us knew, and the only reason we found out about it was that she had been ranting on social media in a video about it, and it got shared. So things got a little weirder when my friend came over to my house and showed me that she had bought a new set of nipple rings. The pack that they came in was opened, removed, and the contents were replaced with a small wooden crucifix. Now after this, we decided enough is enough and we called the police to give our statement. They said because it was spooky season, it was probably a joke. This seemed to me like it was an excuse to not follow up. Now, there was one thing that threw me off, but is worth noting. So I figured originally that whoever was doing this and calling us was probably someone that we all knew. We even went on Facebooks of people that had received them to see if we could find the common denominator, but it turned up nothing. I'm a hairdresser by trade, and my friend is a tattoo artist. One of the other girls sells real estate, and the other is an accountant. The common factor is that all of our info is made public for business reasons. Now, I'd like to think that this is just someone that's trying to get into the holiday spirit and found a bunch of public information that would still be creepy enough on its own, but I've been on guard for almost 2 weeks now. This whole thing just feels so ominous. Everybody, please be careful. More than anything, I think this story is giving me serious Watcher vibes. A few months ago I did the Watcher case on the channel, and I will link the video somewhere on the screen. I can't exactly remember where it goes, but somewhere along the top. And meanwhile, there's also a Netflix series inspired by this case. But to me, this story screams Watcher for some reason. You know, there are a few obvious differences, of course. The crucifixes, and also the fact that this is happening to multiple people, because in the case of the Watcher, it was just that one house. But it is so incredibly scary that the Redditor and, you know, the friend and the other people who've been going through this, their mail is getting messed with. That feels so personal. I mean, if this is a prank, it really isn't a good one. It also baffles me that they went to the police about it, and the police said, you know, it's spooky season, like somebody's probably trying to play a prank on you. Seriously, this is stalker behaviour. Not only is their mail being messed with, but they are getting phone calls, they are getting text messages from this person. I mean, this is obviously very personal, and it is stalker behaviour, no matter like how you look at it. So it should be looked into by the police, it should be taken seriously. Like, this makes me mad. This is honestly disturbing, because clearly whoever is doing this knows where these people live, and that could potentially be dangerous. Now, if the police won't help, I'm guessing like the only thing you can do is install a camera, like a doorbell camera or something, that films the mailbox, and where you get a notification on your phone when it detects motion, so you can catch whoever is doing it in the act while they are putting the crucifixes in the letterboxes. I mean, this story is wild, man. If I see an update on this, I will keep you guys updated. I'll try and keep an eye out for it. But this is absolutely wild, and I hope the Redditor and her best friend and the other 2 girls who have been getting these crucifixes stay safe. I mean, I really hope that this situation doesn't escalate. was originally posted by a Reddit user called Clover_Fields_. Their story is called Something Weird Going On in My New Apartment. So, I'm 21 and I just moved out of my parents' house and into an apartment with one of my friends who is also the same age as me. We are subletting an apartment from my aunt who lived here for about 9 years before buying her own home. So when things started off, they were kind of creepy, but not like completely alarming. The first thing I took notice of was that my bedroom closet, which was in my aunt's old bedroom, was always opening like seemingly by itself. I never actually saw it opening, but when I would go and then come back in the room, it would always be open when I was certain I had left it closed. But like I said, I didn't look too much into it. But now the next bit of weirdness once again came in the form of an inconvenience. We came back from work and we found sand all over the floor in our living room. I don't know what to make of that, but something we both found to be incredibly unsettling was that there were 2 framed pictures that we had hanging in the hallway that were both shattered on the floor. One of them was a picture of my friend and her boyfriend, and the other was a picture of me and my brother. After that had happened, we called my aunt, who is actually also a cop, to come over and check the apartment. She turned the place upside down but found nothing to immediately imply forced entry. She called another officer over to the apartment to file a proper report. Now we ended up staying at her house that night, which meant that we wouldn't be around for the next thing. So my aunt had left a box at the apartment when she moved out that just had some old bras, some underwear and some shorts in it. Now when we got back to the apartment, all of that box's content was scattered all over my bed. I don't think it just floated into the bedroom and dumped itself over my bed. I don't know what's going on. I talked to my aunt and she said that she never had any weird experiences in that apartment. To me, at first I thought it was something paranormal, but now it seems less paranormal and more human. The only thing I don't know is how somebody is getting in here. And before anyone asks, my aunt checked literally every possible entryway and there was nothing. So whoever it is either already has access to the apartment or is capable of making it inside without damaging the property. Either way, I am not comfortable with what's happening. This story is wild. Like I always say on here, the moment somebody has access to your property or you suspect that somebody has access to your property, it is next level creepiness, because your home is your safe space and nobody should be intruding on that. Now, my first thought was that there was maybe like somebody living inside the apartment without them knowing, maybe hiding in a crawl space, maybe hiding in a wall like Daniel LaPlante. We know it's possible. And then while they are out at work or doing other stuff, this person goes inside the flat and helps themselves do whatever is in there and wreaks some and underwear has been emptied on your bed. I can't imagine how scary that must be to come in and discover that in your own apartment. Now, people in the comments have obviously suggested to get cameras, which was my first thought as well. I'm really big on having cameras. They don't have to be super expensive, you can get them quite cheaply online, but it is a good investment, especially if you're like me and you're like a worrier by nature. It does give peace of mind to be able to check on your property inside and outside whenever you please. So that could be a solution to confirm that somebody is actually gaining access to the flat. That is wild, man. Can you imagine discovering that somebody is living inside your house without you knowing? I can't imagine what that must be like. I would not want to sleep in my house ever again. Once again, with this story, if there are any updates in the future, I'll try and keep an eye out for those, and I will update you guys on it. But so far, there's nothing. Absolutely wild, man. I really hope the Redditor and her friend stay safe in that apartment, or they decide to temporarily live somewhere else, because, I mean, it doesn't seem safe to me, personally. Alright, this last one is a doozy. I mean, it's very short, but I did some of my own research as well, and it is bloody insane. So, this story was originally posted by a Reddit user called Ronredemption, and their story is called Creepy Employee. So, I managed a contact centre a couple of years ago, and we went out to agencies for a quick short-term employment, about 6 months, for quite a few people. We got some CVs through, and we were able to have a brief chat with them before deciding if we wanted to employ them. Now, among them was this one guy. He was a middle-aged man who seemed nice, and when I looked at his CV, there was a 1-year gap in his work titled Caring for My Mother, but we didn't think anything of it. So we took him on. However, we started to receive some complaints about his behaviour, such as inappropriate comments and images on his PC. Now, the employees were allowed to listen to music while completing admin work, and he would have YouTube music videos playing with women in very skimpy clothing. His contract ended after the 6 months, and one of the permanent employees wanted to keep in touch with him, so they searched his name on social media and on Google. Now, they found articles about the court case for him on Google, and basically, this guy's mum died a few years before we employed him, and he decided to keep her body in a freezer for nearly 6 months so he could continue to live at her residence and claim her benefits. Really creepy dude. So naturally, if something like that happens, it has to be findable on the internet. So I went and looked for it, and I found the case. So this case was about a 54-year-old guy who lived in the south of England, right? This happened in England. And he lived with his 90-year-old mother in an apartment. Now, the mum was really ill, and at one point in 2008, she became bedbound. Now, this guy, he quit his job to care for her full time, so that part on his CV wasn't a lie. Because, to be honest, when I read it in the Reddit post, I thought that gap in his CV was like caring for my mom, but she was really in a freezer, right? But no, he actually quit his job and cared for her full time, right? Now, 2014 comes along, and the city council is trying to get in touch with this woman because they need to do a big refurbishment on the building that she lives in. But whatever they try, they can't get in touch with her. She doesn't respond, not to letters, not to phone calls. They can't get a hold of her. So they visit the flat, and this guy opens the door, but he refuses to let them in, and he is also incredibly evasive when asked questions about his mum. So the city council is like, suspicious, right? Very, very, very suspicious. So they contact the police, obviously. Now, when it's about a missing person, or, somebody who cannot be contacted and who is supposed to be alive and under somebody's care, apparently they do take the time to look into it. So they went to his house and they got a warrant, I'm assuming, or he let them in, but they end up searching the home. Now, they said that it was clearly the flat of a hoarder. There was just piles upon piles of stuff everywhere in that apartment, right? It was cluttered, it was nasty, it stunk, okay? So, after searching for a while, they found an upright freezer, and it was behind a mattress and also hidden by a big cardboard box or something. So, they find this freezer, and the door of the freezer, like the seam, is completely taped off with duct tape. Supposedly so that the door wouldn't accidentally open on its own, right? If, your mum shifts inside, so inconvenient, and then the door accidentally opens and she falls out. I mean, that wouldn't be pleasant. So the door was taped completely shut. Now, when they opened it, obviously they found the mum inside. They did do an autopsy on the mum, who was 90, as I said, and they found that she had, in fact, died of natural causes. Now, he had kept her in this freezer for 6 months in total, and he did this so that he could stay in the flat that his mum owned or was renting. I think she owned it. I'm uncertain, I couldn't find this in this article that I read, but he did it so he could carry on living there and so he could claim her benefits. Now, apparently over this 6-month period, he claimed £5,390 in benefits in total. Now, his lawyers, because this obviously went to court, so his lawyers were saying that this guy is like a socially awkward man who has struggled with depression and anxiety his whole life. So when his mum died, he really just panicked. He panicked and he stuffed her in a freezer. He sees it, he's like, oh, holy shit, what do I do? The stuff are in the freezer. That's what went down, I don't know what to tell you. Now, he got sentenced to 8 months in prison because he didn't actually kill her, right? She died of natural causes. But he did hide her in a freezer and claim her benefits. So he got sentenced to 8 months in prison, but it was suspended by 12 months with a 12-month supervision order. So he didn't actually spend any time in prison. And that is how he managed to end up working in the Redditors firm. That is insane. It was via an agency, so I don't know whether that agency just didn't do a background check or I mean, for him to go and work in customer service, that doesn't seem like the best plan in the world to me, at least. But yeah, wow. It was the agency's job to do a background check, and clearly they didn't do a thorough enough job. But yeah, the Redditor isn't to blame for that. I mean, they hire the people through the agency, so they aren't, I guess, required or expected or maybe allowed to do the background checks. But this is mental. This is absolutely mental. I mean, what a nutcase. Can you imagine stuffing your own mum in the fridge? I mean freezer. Fridge would be bad news. Honestly, and correct me if I'm wrong, but this is giving major Ed Gein vibes, right? Or like Norman Bates vibes. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Wow. Wow, 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 wow. I think good riddance after that guy's contract ended. Good fucking riddance, right? I don't think, a guy who keeps his own mother in the fridge is the type of guy who could be like the perfect employee, especially in customer service. I just don't get that impression of him. Alright, you guys, that was it for tonight's stories. I hope you enjoyed this episode. I of course want to thank the lovely Redditors for allowing me to share their stories with you guys on the channel, and I of course, as always, want to thank you for choosing to hang out with me again tonight. I hope I see you again for next week's video. For now though, all there is left for me to do is to wish you